What's going on, y'all? I'm Bud Elliott. That's Chuck Blunt. That's Nile, Lawrence-Stample. And this is the Nolecast coming to you live on a Friday morning with Florida State playing the rare Friday night road game here. Guys, what's going on?
Oh,
It's game day.
man. Yeah, let's see if they can get a W and get bowl eligible.
Let's do this thing, man. Shoot, bowl eligible. Would you guys go to the bowl if they make a bowl?
If they go to the, are we looking at the Gasparilla Bowl? I want to say that was a proper possibility.
That was the one I've seen most frequently associated with them if they were to get bowl eligible. I'll actually be on a cruise at that point, so no, I'll have to pass.
I'll probably take the boys over if they play in Tampa.
Same.
Yeah, nice and close.
If we're playing in Tampa, I'm definitely going. Tampa's amazing. That place is sick. I would definitely be attending that bowl game.
Yeah, that one actually sounds good. And like that's a really great spot to take the kids to. And if you got young kids, that can actually last an entire game when it's not, hot as balls outside. I don't know if I should really say that, but yeah. All right. One thing that also you should definitely attend is a call with Chad at the legendary team, 844 FSU Loan. 844 FSU Loan is of course the number to call there. And yeah, man, does a great job. All of our Nolecast loan program. More than 600 listeners have decided to go with Chad. I've done it 3 times now. Really excited to keep working with him on additional projects. Also, as a note, I'm shooting something for TV. Like it's a lot of shooting that I can't really talk about right now on the show. So these two are going to drive more of the show today so that I don't show up and have my voice go in the wrong direction because we shot a lot already and it's a lot of talking, guys. So yeah. With that, let's go ahead and get something on the screen here. Of course, we do want you all to watch on YouTube more. And here we go. Let's get these chart up right here. Boom. We good? And boom. There we go.
There we go.
I'm gonna increase the zoom on this slightly, guys. All right.
So I'll just throw a little context out there. NC State's 5-5 overall. They're 2-4 in the ACC, actually allowing 37 points per game. Though at home, regardless of opponent type, they are 4-1, scoring 37 points a game and giving up 23 per game. So they have played a lot better at Carter Finley, which shouldn't shock any FSU fan. We know that place is a house of horrors. But I also will call out that this season, as an underdog, they are 1-4, getting outscored 25.8 to 42.2. So when they're supposed to lose, they're typically losing and getting blasted in the process. So it's just something to kind of keep in mind. On the flip side, Norvell is 10-15 in road games at FSU. He's actually 8-2 as the favorite on the road, but he has lost each of those last 2 this year at Virginia and at Stanford. And then the last one, this will probably depress people. Sorry, it's Friday, but I got to put it out there. He is 1-9 when Jordan Travis does not start at quarterback for him in a road game, with that lone win actually being the last time FSU won a road game in November of 2023 at Gainesville. So there you go. There's your historical context.
What should fans expect from this NC State team, guys?
No.
Oh, man. So we're always, especially playing, like you said, playing in NC State is in Raleigh. It's always going to be a hard game. It's like that. I think sometimes, if you ask me, it's almost a better rivalry than Clemson. It's just the way that they show up for us is always hard-nosed. So I'm looking at this game less about the stats and more about their wins. They've been able to create some solid wins. Beating Georgia Tech is no easy feat. That means that they have, especially not early in the season, not the first, second game of the season, like actually in the meat of the season. So with that being the case, this is definitely not a team that's going to roll over when we come in tonight. I am expecting piss and vinegar. I'm looking at them. They're on top of that, they're not bowl eligible yet. So like they're playing for something just like we're playing for something, and they clearly have not quit. So it is going to be a very difficult game, no matter how bad their defense is, because their defense is not very good. Their offense carries their team. CJ Daniels, he carries a lot of that. CJ Bailey, right? CJ Bailey?
Yeah. CJ Bailey. Yeah. He was actually Jeremiah Smith's quarterback in high school.
Got you.
Yeah. So he actually had a thing in NC State, found a good little market inefficiency there. So he was like tall, super gangly, just like, hadn't really grown into his frame. He's still quite skinny, but I talked to a guy who's not on NC State's staff, but I think knew of their thought process. And he was like, yeah, I mean, granted, the numbers are insane because the other receiver on that team is Jeremiah Trader. Or sorry,
Jojo Trader.
Jojo Trader. Yeah. And they also had an incredibly good slot on the team. And obviously, like that was a super loaded team. And they were like, but honestly, man, like mechanically, the upper body is pretty fine. He just has a weird stride length inconsistency. So we think that some of the footwork stuff is much more fixable than the throwing motion, which might be a little more set just in terms of muscle memory by that point in your career, which was it kind of changed how I think about quarterback play a little bit, right? Like they tried to change Tebow's throwing motion. And I mean, this is kind of just very nerdy, but occasionally we go off on these tangents. Apologies, but that maybe it's easier to fix somebody's footwork or stride length. Maybe you could train that a little bit better than you can the actual way, like that their hand parts, spinning the ball, which I guess you could change with a grip, style, but like the actual throwing motion is pretty ingrained by a certain age, I guess, if you've thrown a lot of passes. So yeah, and they appear to have done a pretty good job with him. I was looking up something here. I like the back they have a lot too, man. When Hollywood Smothers is damn good.
Yeah, like I'm actually looking forward to their offense versus our defense. I think that's where the game will probably be decided.
Yes.
I think FSU's offense should have a lot of success against this defense because pretty much everybody has. But the question is going to be, can Tony White's crew get off the field, in those critical third down situations and maybe force a couple turnovers? You're going to have to force some empty possessions, I think, because I would guess that NC State's gonna overall have success in the game, but can you have those empty possessions because they throw a turnover or they miss a field goal? And that's the other thing. Can you force 3 instead of 7 when they do get down into the red zone? Their red zone TD percentage is actually 4th in the country at scoring a touchdown 78% of the time. So that really could decide the game. If you can hold them to 3 instead of 7, that could create the separation you need to get out of there with a W.
You also got to watch for Smothers to catch the ball. Now, I am curious if this kid's healthy because he missed the game before Miami, and against Miami, he had 7 rushes for -2 yards, and then they pulled him. And he also did not look explosive on his 2 catches. He does catch the ball a lot when he's healthy. He's averaging like almost 3.5 catches a game, before the injury, and about 35 yards a game again receiving before the injury. So when I think back to, some backs who have had success catching the football against you this year, especially back to that Pitt game.
Yep.
God.
Yeah. Desmond Reed had a lot of yardage.
Whether Hollywood Smothers is actually like full go and healthy and looks like the guy who was pretty dynamite in the first 8 games of the year, that'll be a pretty important factor for this football team. I don't think the receivers suck, but the scariest player on offense to me who touches the ball is Smothers. So I haven't seen the injury report. It's probably actually out. I just need to do my job and look it up while you guys talk. But
yeah.
It's actually interesting that the game you called out that he missed before Miami was Georgia Tech, and that's one of their only 2 wins in their last 7 games. So they actually won without him against Georgia Tech and put up 48 points. So that's just something to keep in mind. They do have some other weapons besides him, but he does make their offense more dynamic when he's in the lineup.
If you watch that run that he had against Pitt, and he also had a crazy one against Wake Forest, he's just so dynamic. Like, every time he touches the ball, it's with this defense, it's kind of a hold your breath moment.
Yeah, I really want to see how we respond. So going into the Clemson game, and this is where it sucks because it's a positive, but it's a negative. It's just like we just don't know what team we're going to get. But going into the Clemson game, I thought what we did well in Clemson was be disciplined. Like we actually, and what it's hard to even notice how disciplined your defense is unless you're actually understanding and watching it in real time. It's just big plays don't happen, and they happen a lot more seldomly. But we played pretty disciplined in Clemson, and I feel like the game plan was good. It's like, can we transfer that to NC State on the road and have our offense actually complement us? Especially if he does play that, I feel like what disturbs and what kind of kills us is when you throw that running back out there, it's like an extra layer that the defensive backs have to figure out and have to be able to respond to. That match has got to be almost perfect. coming out on a wheel route. That's why we've been having struggle in the wheel route, because it becomes like real intricate on who's picking up who, and then how you respond to that. If you don't trigger immediately, it's gone. It's over. It's like you have like a 2-second differential on triggering, or it's already past you. So I want to see how keen in we are. I think overall the defense has gotten better week over week. It's just, can the offense keep us out of situations to where we have to play tired and we also get exposed, because the amount of plays that an offense runs just gives them more ammunition to figure out what's working and what doesn't.
Yeah, and their defense is actually used to playing a lot of plays, so it'll be interesting to see, like, can they try to wear them down? They're like 102nd in the country in plays faced per game, and they face almost 70 plays a game. So you would think that if they can have some early success, Gus is going to push that tempo. It's also going to just be incumbent on the offense to actually get on the board in the first quarter. That's been part of the struggles on the road this year.
Yeah.
They've fallen in early holes, and then the defense, they've held up as best as they can for as long as they could, but eventually your offense has to provide some support. And, they were in that big hole at Virginia because of the turnovers. They started slow at Stanford. They started slow at Clemson. And eventually your defense is just going to get worn down. So I'm very curious to see if the offense can actually get off to a good start, especially against a really suspect defense. They should have early success. And if with that, maybe they can get out to a 14-0 lead instead of a 7-0 hole or a 10-0 hole like we've seen in a lot of these road games, even going back to last year.
So one of the things here in this chart, like some of the things that stand out to me that are basically, I'm saying, like, are not likely sustainable through the course of the year, is like their red zone defense is not consistent necessarily with a lot of their stats on defense, right? Like, they're really pretty bad at allowing explosive plays. Now, you might say, hey, they're good in the red zone because they do a great job against the run. I mean, number 8 in the country, rushing success rate allowed, and 86th in the country passing success rate allowed. So maybe if their weakness is allowing explosive plays, like that's just something that is like doesn't really apply as much when the space condenses in the red zone, right? So that part I get. On the other side, not to just jump to their offense and our defense. Them being 4th in the country in red zone touchdown percentage when they are 102nd in rush success rate is wild.
Yeah.
Like that to me is like a luck box city. And I did watch several of their games in which we had picked on CBS or on Cover 3. And I'm like, okay, that's a miracle catch in the red zone. Like they've done some pretty good execution, but also like very, very fortunate, I would say, at certain times that balls were fit in very tight windows and tip balls were caught and things. So I'm a little curious to see if that sustains. I'm not saying all of a sudden our defense is going to rise up and be magical in the red zone, but like, guys, 4th in the nation in red zone touchdown percentage. That's wild.
They've had 30 red zone attempts and come away with 25 touchdowns. So they're getting 3 red zone trips a game.
Right.
So it's pretty wild that, to be that bad in so many scenarios and then be that good down there is typically you don't find that on somebody's stat profile.
Yeah, and we're what are we the opposite? Because I feel like at least even on a stat sheet,
42nd in red zone TD percentage.
We struggle the second we get to like the 30-yard line. Things and I think that's when things slow down. Things slow down when we get to the red zone. Therefore, it causes a lot of hiccups and stuff like that. It's just our drive can look so great until we get to about the 30, and things just start to kind of
and everything compresses too, right? Like it makes those windows tighter for Tommy. So
it becomes it just So that is interesting, but we do a lot better as far as overall. So that's tough. Do you think that's a coaching issue, not being able to like finish, or do you think that that's like a players just not having that like it factor?
I personally think it probably has something to do with they get a little less of the playbook is available once you get down in there, right? Because Tommy doesn't take advantage of the middle of the field. First off, it also limits a lot of this offense is the explosivity, and then they can stack the box without fear of Deuce beating you as deep, right? Because it's that compressed area of the field. So it just a lot of the things the FSU offense does well doesn't exactly translate into that tight area of 15 or 20 yards of space. And so I think that's what it kind of limits what Gus can call. And we also know that Tommy just has natural limitations as a passer. So I think that's why you see those struggles there, where Bailey might just actually be better at throwing in the tighter windows. Plus, they do tend to run the ball well with Smothers. When they may not run it situationally all the time well, but they do run it hard down there, and their offensive line gets some push, which probably helps them convert some of those more into touchdowns than we do.
So I also think it's like, stylistically, we do a pretty good job of hunting explosives and trying to scheme explosives. So much like we talked about, NC State on a down-to-down basis is pretty good at stopping the run, but they are also like the disparity between them being 8th in rushing success rate allowed and 91st in explosive rush rate allowed is pretty wild. But it there might be something to this, right? Like they hunt run stops, but when they miss their fits, it's going for 60. You know. Man, as far as like their red zone success when they're in the red zone, like an offense that is 104th in havoc percentage allowed, you would think that they would have more drives killed in the red zone by an early down, like negative play, right? You know, oh shoot, like we run it, we miscommunicate, tackle for loss. Now you're, second and goal from the 12, that has not seemed to happen yet. But again, I don't think that's super sustainable over the long term. But we're in week 13. So so far, either they have a magical ability to buckle down in the red zone and just allow no TFLs in that area, or if they do, they overcome it, or it's coming. Can you make it happen? I don't know.
And just to touch on that havoc rate, since the havoc rate's actually a combination of front seven, what the front seven does and what the DBs do, their DB havoc rate that they allow, it's not great, but it's only 1.6%. So it seems like he's not throwing a lot of passes that are getting deflected or picked off. Their bigger problem is they do allow penetration, which can put them behind the sticks, which is amazing that doesn't, like you said, to your point, it's amazing that hasn't come back to haunt them in the red zone. But also that's where when we were talking about Tommy versus Bailey, that's where he's probably a little better at throwing balls that aren't getting deflected down there in those tighter windows, where Tommy FSU does give up a little more DB havoc at 5.5%. It's 5% per play or per pass plays that they attempt. So yeah, like Bailey's just better at throwing in tighter windows is ultimately what it comes down to. It seems like.
That makes sense.
I feel like we've gotten progressively worse getting into the red zone all season as well. I think maybe as teams have figured out what's going on as well, but I just feel like that's just not, again, just like you said, sustainable. That's just not very sustainable for us to be able to go down the field. And if we don't get an explosive play, we don't score. Like that is not sustainable at all. That just doesn't really make sense in an offense that you kind of schemed up. You've created this situation to where we need someone that can run the ball, can throw it average, but can run the ball. But we have limited opportunities of doing what it is that we actually need to do, and that's score touchdowns. And that's majority of the time happens in the red zone and not necessarily 50, 40 yards down the field. So that's just a little bit frustrating because, again, I'm not big on the stats. So learning that just now is a little bit frustrating to kind of understand that dynamic of that offense.
Ideally, no, I totally agree with you. Ideally, like we're not going to get totally away from what Gus wants to do as far as like creating explosives, but you would like to have a little bit, tighter relationship there where we're still scoring in the red zone more. I don't think ours is nearly as unsustainable as what I'm seeing here. Like this is, if NC State actually has a formula, they should bottle it and sell it. Because like every coach in America would love, it's like, all right, cool. We're just going to be absolutely perfect in the red zone, to use.
It would actually be really fun to chart every red zone appearance they had, and just to see, like, does their run to pass ratio change? Like, what is it that is changing that's allowing them to be that successful there versus 20-20, right? Because they tend to correlate more often than not, and the fact they don't really makes you question what's going on.
Absolutely. Oh my gosh.
Do we think FSU needs? Typically on the road, I would expect this to be true, but they need to probably win the turnover battle and maybe win it by a couple, right? Like Oh, at least mix in some of those fourth down stops and or a failed red zone that ends in like a missed field goal or something. I feel like they need those multiple empty possessions to really have a chance tonight. Because with all the struggles they've had on the road, that's one thing that can really swing a game into your favor. Is if there's going to be 11 possessions and you can get 4 or 5 of them where they just come away with no points, I think that's your path to victory, as you would say.
I think that's pretty fair. I mean, if not, it's going to be pretty frustrating. Something else can be really frustrating is managing a business. Congruity HR Solutions can certainly help you with all that, whether that's HR, payroll, you need to get health insurance for your employees or the folks who work for you. Congruity can really help you out with that. All the contact info, of course, in our show notes. I think we have like 10 or 11 Nolecast listeners now who run their business through Congruity. Always a great option. And Graham's also sent them, quite a bit of business, and we appreciate their continued support of the Nolecast. Yeah, I'd love to chart that. Chuck, and what do you guys think? Like, it does feel in some ways that this offense for them is pretty routinely showing up and scoring, in the 30s, I would say, in most games, with the exception of the 2 teams that they face that have like really good defense. I mean, is your defense better than East Carolina, Virginia, Wake, Duke, Tech, Pitt, and Georgia Tech? I think the vast majority of those, I would answer yes, but it's not as good as Notre Dame and Miami. And Notre Dame and Miami just destroyed them, and they scored 7 points respectively in each of those games. We really haven't seen them against just a decent college defense, I guess, very much. Maybe Wake would be the best.
Yeah, and I mean, they still put up 34 against Wake is the thing. So that's interesting to know. That Va Tech game's interesting, though, that it was a 23-21 game.
Mm-hmm.
That could have been before Va Tech totally quit on the season is the hard part, right? Like, that was right after Pry. Wasn't that the dead cat bounce for them? Wasn't that right after they fired Pry?
It was early in the season.
Yeah,
I thought they fired him really early.
They fired him after like their 3rd or 4th game. I think that could have been that was NC State's 5th game, and I don't know when the buys are so funky with everybody getting 2. I'd have to go back and look, but it was early in the season, right after they fired him. So I'd be curious if that was part of it. It was that because we've seen that this year. A lot of teams who fired their coach actually covered the spread in the game immediately.
Penn State,
yeah. So it could have been a part of that factor, but that does give me some hope that because Va Tech just isn't a very good football team, and they completely shut down NC State in that game. That's probably the most impressive performance by an opposing defense, not named Notre Dame or Miami against them, I would say.
So in every conference game, they have rushed for more than 150 yards, with the exception of that Tech game. Obviously, Miami, they rushed for 23. And Notre Dame, which is not a conference game, but like they play a lot of ACC opponents. Yeah. So, but they have against Georgia Tech, they ran for 243, 161 on Pitt, 171 on Duke, 205 against Wake, 216 against UVA. Like they, to kind of go back to the Smothers comment, like he does hit a lot of explosives for them. They break the game open with that rush game.
That's going to be key. Don't fall asleep on those 3rd and longs. I think it's going to be important too. Like, because NC State's one of those teams that'll run a draw on 3rd and 9, and you don't want because Smothers has that home run ability. And if you fall asleep in 3rd and 9, he could break it for 40 or 50, and all of a sudden, what looked like getting the ball back with decent field positions, all of a sudden they're in the red zone or scoring a touchdown on you. So you got to be alert on every down, even if you're in an advantageous situation against their offense.
Yeah. And so everything obviously correlates. We've had struggles in with our DBs not being able to really cover and run zone correctly. That's been an issue. And then obviously our linebackers, we've had issues, and then we can't get home. So all of them going together, that's where you just have struggles in general when it comes to a gunslinger. And that's what we're going to see. He's going to air the ball out. That's what they do well. He's going to throw the football. So my issue is week over week, Tony White has not done the best job of preparing them without ample time. So the 2 games that I think we saw the best was the Alabama game, obviously having all offseason to be able to fit and match and understand that. We're talking walkthroughs over and over and over again to where it becomes a habit, right? And then we turn around and we have our bye week, our second bye week, and then we come in and we play well again. So I think with this being a short week, as well as us playing someone that is going to air the ball out, I don't have the most confidence that we'll be able to match and pick up certain things, especially they're going to throw a lot of different stuff at us. I just don't have the confidence that, even though we have dumbed it down, We've taken out a lot of things and we've tried to make it a little bit more simpler for the defense. I just don't know if we're going to be able to implement that with a short week with the same defense Tony White's trying to implement. I don't have a ton of confidence in it.
No, I'm with you. Who do we anticipate is actually taking Rawls' spot in the starting lineup? Because they've struggled with the explosive pass to begin with. I'm curious who will Bailey pick on whoever is on that side where it had been Rawls. And how are they going to hold? Is it going to be Arnaud, or are they going to go? Because Quindarius Jones is out for the year, isn't he?
I think so, right?
Right. So, I'm just curious who they're going to be. Who's going to be on that side opposite Wilson? That they're going to probably be very active tonight, and that could ultimately decide the game. Is how many plays can we make in our favor on that side of the field versus how many big plays can they hit down the field with whatever receivers on that side of the field. So that's probably the game inside the game when they have the football is who are they picking on and how much success are they having?
Yeah, I would agree with that for sure. I don't know how they're going to do it. I mean, I think you got a real shot to win this game though.
Yeah.
Now granted, the spread's 4 or 6 or whatever we're bouncing around at this morning, but
all the models actually like FSU by even more is the interesting thing. The models suggest FSU should win this probably by more than a score when we look at those. So,
yeah, I think the thing is just where do you peg this team at? The models are seeing this team closer, I think, to Notre Dame, Miami than they are the rest of this schedule that the Wolfpack has faced so far.
Mm-hmm.
The variance in this team makes this team difficult to project at times.
And they're night and day on the road and home, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's the biggest. This team plays like a probably bottom half of the Power 5 team on the road and plays like a top half at home. So it's really what's going to show up. The way they've been all year, I'm kind of expecting what we shouldn't expect to show up in this game. So as a tip, I'm expecting FSU to win this game, even though they have no history that suggests they will.
Yeah. I'm not, I've said it a couple times I think it's a given that you have to stop the run. I really hate when people say, well, to win this game, you have to stop the run. You have to stop the run every game. I think more this game than it's been in the last few games, we have to stop the run. If we do not stop the run in this game, we will lose, period. Sometimes you can manage the run. You can manage it. You don't have to completely stop it because that's their game. That's their game is running. And if you can manage that, you can eat up clock. You can have them settle for 3. You can have them break every once in a while. But if they're slinging it and they're doing a fairly good job at it, if we don't stop the run, that's it. That's it. That's the game. So that for this particular game, if Darryl Jackson and we do not clog it up in the middle and do not do a good job of being disciplined in our rush lanes when it comes to running on third down, if he needs to, and stopping the run, I just don't think that this game it won't make it off the page.
Here's my concern is you give up 130 yards, but 3 carries go for 102 touchdowns. Because that's what we see in their they suck down to down running the football, but they are explosive. And if Smothers, you could be great on 90% of their run plays, but if you give up 3 big runs that go for a couple scores, that could ultimately, you played the run great all night, but you had a couple situations that are going to cost you. And so that's what I'm curious to see is not just what are the final numbers, but can they eliminate or prevent the big play when they're having success down to down to down. You just can't. That's why I said don't fall asleep on 3rd and 8 when they run a draw to Smothers and all of a sudden he breaks that thing for a field flipping run. That's going to be the key, I think, because they don't. Nothing suggests they're going to be able to just line up and run for 5, 6, 7 yards a carry.
Watching that VTech game, boy, that was
yeah, they had a lot of success running the ball. What was it, 40 carries for 230 yards?
That was tough. And they ran it right up the middle.
Yeah.
Miami better show up this weekend in
I'm
Blacksburg.
curious. They're going to have what, like 40 or 50 visitors that Franklin's bringing in, a bunch of his Penn State commits and stuff. That's going to be an interesting environment. Can they get the crowd on their side and have one big game? We know that Mario struggles in that situation on the road outside of the state of Florida. He is not good.
That's gonna be the game to watch, if you ask me.
Like that, and then they finish at
Pitt.
Vatek at Pitt.
Yeah.
Like this was one of the reasons why we had to do our show picks for cover 3, and I was like, I'm taking Miami under because they finish with 8 straight conference games without a bye.
Yep.
Like there's some weird bye weeks. You know, UConn has a bye in the final week.
Yeah, they're done after this week.
Which, if you're gonna suck, doesn't really hurt because it means you get to go on vacation earlier, right?
Yeah,
but they have to wait for their bowl for
things.
Aren't they like
Thanksgiving with your family? Right? They actually were good. You know, like Jim Moore has done a pretty damn good job up there with that UConn team. I was thinking when I saw that in the preseason, like, well, if they suck, you get to go home and be with your family all Thanksgiving. Like that's kind of cool, you know. But
for sure.
Obviously, since they're actually good, that's such a weird thing. But we probably shouldn't. I did not think we were talking UConn today, but I'm derailing us once again, unfortunately. You guys want to get to predictions here?
Yep.
Yeah. All right, let's do this thing. I'll share our screen here on the other one. All right, take that off and add this right here. I do wish StreamYard would let you load up multiple shared screens at once. Like that's the only real drawback of this platform. And other than that, I like it quite a bit actually.
Yeah, StreamYard's good.
Probably need to increase that there. Can you guys see? Boom.
There we go.
Nice, guys. All right, so walk us through this.
So we got a 5.5 point line according to FanDuel with a 59.5 total. That expected score comes out to about a 33-27 type of game. And then, Bud, I'll let you go with your pick.
Yeah, I went 31-27 Noles. This NC State defense has not really shown much of a pulse all year. I do think that like you can probably hunt explosive plays against them. I would not be shocked if your red zone inconsistency and their red zone magic continues somehow in a frustrating way. But I do think you'll hit enough explosives to put up a number that you make them chase.
Yeah. I'm going quite a bit under the score just because it's a short week. I think you could have some sloppy play, guys not fully rehabbed from last week's games type of thing. So it could just be a weird feeling out process early in the game. But ultimately, I do have FSU making enough plays and getting enough empty possessions from NC State for it to result in a victory and bowl eligibility.
Yeah, I think we'll come out on top. I think it's going to be a little bit of a higher scoring game, and if Florida State can and Tommy can get things going and keep the momentum, I think that this defense is bad enough for us to get stumped, but then be able to regain momentum again in order for us to get there. But a team that's their defense is kind of a little bit on the better side of bending and not breaking. I think that's where we find issues, just because we can't get that momentum back going. But I think we can get a couple explosive plays to keep the momentum on our side.
Mm-hmm.
Nice. Any other like parting thoughts here?
Did I just throw it out there? Did anybody see the report that Gus interviewed with Arkansas?
I did not see that report. I mean,
came out last night from Northwest Arkansas newspaper, which I guess is closer to Fayetteville.
If it's Richard, I would 100% trust that. Like Richard is, I know that guy from like years past, but like, was it Richard Davenport at like Northwest Arkansas Gazette? I think.
It was Otis Kirk from the Northwest Arkansas, their newspaper there. So
I think that's the Gazette.
Okay.
Like, I don't know Otis Kirk, but I do know that Richard does a great job up there. Like that guy's been on the ball, and like he's like almost like an Ira for like Chaffel or Warchant. Like he's just been there forever and has a pretty good finger on the pulse of stuff. Okay.
One last hurrah going home and coaching the team before riding off in the sunset, maybe?
I was listening to, I think it was the College Ball Insider show on CBS, and they indicated that like Arkansas has interviewed like so many guys. So I don't think that's really all that surprising. And I wouldn't begrudge him for doing that. Like if you get an SEC job as opposed to being a coordinator, and you actually want to jump back in, okay. But again, like a lot of the messaging after UCF doesn't want to do a lot of the head coaching style stuff now. Yeah, right. So that would be, I'm not an Arkansas fan. That's Arkansas's issue. They want to deal with that. I would want a guy who's motivated to do all the stuff personally. Right. But yeah, good luck, Hogs, if that comes to pass. Yeah, I mean, like that's it would make interesting conversations though on what you do with Tommy if you decide to change the offense yet again. But also, like, we're going to see a lot of change potentially coming to the sport in mid-December. They're going to see if they get that injunction for the 5-for-5 rule,
right?
Which may not be permanent, but it would probably just affect the 2026 season. So maybe next week we'll talk about which guys on this roster are, fourth years who don't have an extra year to play under the current system, but might, be good guys to bring back for next year, regardless of what happens with the coaching staff. So cool, guys. I'm gonna go drink some honey tea and get ready to shoot this TV thing. And, I appreciate y'all.
Yep. Yeah. Go Noles, y'all.
Go Noles. Take care. Let's get a win.